All right, well, welcome in everybody. Tonight's episode of Wired for Bass, we have a special guest on here, Miss Nikki Jo Hatten from Alabama. This is a show that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been trying to find the right personality, and I got to tell you, I think I found the right personality. I think you guys are going to really enjoy her. I think her opinions are really valid, and she's coming from a place of, she just got back from the Classic. She's out there tournament fishing, and this is the topic we're going to talk about tonight. We have a sport in which everything seems to be pretty level and pretty playing, and I want to know why the women are out there and they're not competing at the same level sometimes. So Nikki, welcome in. Sorry, Nikki Jo, welcome in.
I go about whatever, it's fine. Thank you.
And so that's one of the biggest things that I think in this sport that we have. We're going to talk some fishing and stuff in different areas and different, kind of what you want. But one of the biggest topics that I'd like to talk about is the whole women in competitive bass fishing. I mean, bass fishing, I think you agree with me on this one, is about as level a playing field as you can get. You're not competing against me personally. You're competing against the water. You're competing against the fish, your weather, everything. And there's no reason why I don't believe that women, can't go out and compete on a high level, fishing the Bassmaster Classic and things like that.
Yep, I completely agree with that. I mean, like we were talking about the other day, I'm not having to go take down and tackle a 300-pound guy. I have to lift the trolling motor or crank a motor up. It's not that big a deal. It's physically, it is not demanding, and it has nothing to do with physical abilities at all. I mean, yes, you have to be able to cast and things like that, but that's it. Like, it's all in their mind. And so many of these people get defeated before they ever start. Oh my God, I can't do that. I want to fish a women's only tournament because I'm intimidated. Get out there, suck it up, get used to it. Just get out in front of the whole playing field a few times. It's like going to the gym. You get terrified about going to the gym. Oh my God, there's all these people that are super in shape and on a Larness or whatever the case may be, and you don't want to go, but you go a few times and then you don't care anymore, and it's everybody, and you know that nobody's looking at you. You're just blending in with the crowd. Same concept. So I would love to see more women get into this.
So, you're tournament fishing, you're fishing out of the front of the boat.
Yes.
I know that everybody starts in the back, everybody starts in this sport and everything. What has really been the driving force to say, hey, you know what, I want to fish the front, I want to be out there? And have you found anything that really has said, hey, I can't compete against guys?
No, other than lack of experience and time on the water. I mean, I live in an area where you've got guys who've been doing this since they were 10 on the front of the boat, on their dad's boat and stuff. I didn't have that opportunity with bass fishing. I mean, I've been fishing since I was a little kid, but not on that level. So I'm having to just learn and catch up and things like that. But I think what drove me to get on the front of the boat is, honestly, I wanted to go fishing because I was off work and Clayton had to work. And I was like, hey, I have been dealing with our boat a little bit. We had a bass tracker at the time, and I had ran it some, but I was like, hey, I want to go fishing, but you're not home. So I want to learn how to do this so I can go, whenever you're not here. And he was like, well, not in the new boat, because he was getting a blazer at the time. So I was like, well, what about the tracker? He's like, okay, on the tracker, I'll teach you. So I started learning on the tracker. Well, we got rid of the tracker and we still had this new blazer. And I got to the point where I was like, hey, can I use your boat? And he was like, not the new one. No. I didn't have a lot of experience. I was like, I'm going to go buy my own. I'll go get my own. Then you can't tell me I can't. So I sucked. I mean, didn't know how to put it in the yard or anything. It took me a while, but that was what made me determined to go get my own boat. I was like, I want to go whenever I want to. I'm off work a lot, and I wanted the freedom to, if I felt like going for a couple hours, I'd go for a couple hours. And I got over the whole boat ramp being terrified thing. That was the hardest part, just because people are going to stare at you when you go to the boat ramp, because here comes a little girl, and they're like, do you need help? And even now I get the do you need help thing. So I was like, oh my God, people are going to talk to me and think that I'm having issues. And I just got over that. like I said, blending in with the crowd at the gym, same thing. But yeah, wanting to go whenever I wanted to go, that motivated me. Also, getting backvoted one good time at a BFL as a co. Like I had one guy backvote me, and I was like, I did not like this. I did not like this at all. I feel like I could do pretty well, and I ended up doing really good in the points in the co side. But I thought, man, if I got up there, I feel like I could hang in there with everybody else. And noted, I got my teeth kicked in first year because I mean these guys have experience and I don't. That comes with it though. So yeah, wanting to make my own timeline with fishing and wanting to never get backvoted again was good enough motivation for me.
Yeah, it's funny. That's absolutely the same reason why I stopped fishing out of the back of the boat. Was just had a tournament that in fact, I know I would have done better than the guy I was fishing with, but I did the same thing. It's just like, hey, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I have to be on the front of that boat. And I fish a lot of teams right now because my boats blew up, both of them. But I feel that, I hate I hate fishing out of the back boat, not making my own decisions. You talk about the fear and, I see, like you talked about, I didn't even realize that there was still a ladies professional bass tournament going on. I know that the Bassmaster had tried it for a little while. I don't know if that's still it. I don't know if that's still the one that's going on.
It's not ended. Now you got the LBAA, which is the Lady Bass Angler Association, and you got little ones. The LBAA is probably the biggest one out of all of them.
Okay. So is that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never hear about it. I've never, until you mentioned the other day when we chatted, I'd never even heard of it. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
There is some talent in that now, and I would love to see several of them in particular come, and they can keep fishing that. That's fine, but like I like to see them come over to like the opens or something like that. Now there is one in particular, Pat Martin Wells fishes in the LBAA, and that's one of the only few females that's ever made it to the Bassmaster Classic. She made it through the women's league. She actually made it to championship Sunday with that as well. Like I think she finished like 22nd. She did really well in the Classic. But she fishes that. And my friend Sherry, who lives here in town, she fishes that as well as a co. And she's a freaking hammer, man. Like I would love to see like my friend Sherry, I would love to see her get out there, be a boater. Like she could probably put a beat down on several people that I know. But yeah, as a whole, you don't hear about it. Like you said, like I don't know where they're fishing next unless she tells me. Like it's not like an opener or an elite series because it's very particular. There's only like 20 something boats. It is what it is. But like I said, maybe like a handful of people fish opens out of that. My dog's yelling. Sorry.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hear that and I don't know where it starts. I don't know where this has to turn around or where, I've heard some really weird excuses of why more women don't fish these tournaments, why women aren't in the sport more, and it starts sometimes, like you said, almost, it starts off young. Dads take their sons fishing and leave their daughters at home. They don't think about that. Women can't pee off the boat. I've heard, you can't have a woman in the boat with a man by themselves. I've heard there's just so many different things and
you
excuses.
said right there, that doesn't really get talked about a lot. Like
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
I think that one of the things you just said is probably one of the most common things that gets asked for me is like, you have to fish with some random dude for 8 hours. And so many women won't talk about it, but like their dude is not cool with that at all. Like they're not, they have a jealous factor. And a lot of times whenever you get a woman who is good at bass fishing, their boyfriend, and not mine, we're both competitive. Like we could be like anybody else out there, but they'll what's the word I'm looking for? They don't want to make their partner mad because they're like with some dude or whatever, or they get some creepy guy that ruins it for them. Sorry, like they just do. They get some guy who asks them 1,000 questions and be inappropriate or something like that, and it's just like, man, I don't want to deal with that whenever I'm trying to fish. So it's like a safety thing almost. They'll go for the woman's side. But it's not, it's really not like that. If you get up to not, I can't say that about a little local tournament, but like if I'm fishing a BFL, even on that level, even though it's not like super high up, that level, I have run into like none of that, zero of that.
Right.
My codes are always really cool. They always ask me how I'm going to pee off the boat every time. They're like, what do you do? How do you do this? I'm like, I just hold it. It'll be fine. But that kind of thing intimidates a lot of guys because like their girlfriend's out there, she's fishing, she's got to deal with this guy. What if he has to pee? Like there's all this stuff they think about, and I understand it can be weird, but I don't know. The thing I always tell my co is like I'm a nurse, and I've seen enough things to not be worried about you being off the back of my boat. But anyways,
I can tell you as a guy, from the guy's perspective, I have never once turned around and watched some guy pee. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not to be like, hey buddy, what you doing back there? Like
yeah,
the worst
I don't see where that factor really falls into it myself.
No, but
I think
they get intimidated by that. It's like I get guys, and it's always the guys that ask me. It's never the women. It's always the guys that ask me, how's your boyfriend feel about you out here fishing with some random guy? Doesn't he get mad about it? I'm like, no, I'm competing like anybody else. If I see him on the water, I'm going to treat him just like anybody else we see. Like he's not intimidated. I'm not sitting here like with my hand on your leg the whole time I'm running down the river. Like I'd like to win, but so many people have that jealousy thing, and a lot of guys have that intimidated factor. Like they're worried because their girlfriend fishes, and all these guys want to go talk to her, and I just like that. Like it doesn't. And if you're in it for the actual sport and you're competitive, one, you're going to be dressed appropriately for it, which is a whole other subject. Like if you don't want guys to talk to you, don't dress like you're trying to go make money after you get out of your boat while you're fishing with some random dude. And like two, present yourself in a presentable way when you talk. Like don't talk about inappropriate stuff, or don't let it happen. If it starts to happen, shut it down.
Right.
Have a spine of steel. Like just take your foot, put it down, fix it. So I've never had a problem with it.
Right.
But I hear about women who have, and they're like, oh, I would never fish with guys. They're disgusting. I only want to fish with women. They're safe. Well, you know what? If you put yourself in a handicapped state of mind like that, and you only want to fish against women, and you only want to get out there and compete against everybody else, people are people. You can do it. You can deal with it. Get on a higher level of competing instead of like some $15 pot tournament where you're fishing with some guy who just got out of jail. And go fish a BFL, or open, go on the coast side of things and try it out, and just get around the people in organized bass fishing tournaments are good people 99% of the time. They're usually cool, like not always, but it's usually people who've been doing it for a long time too. Like whenever you start spending a little bit of money to fish tournaments, your class of folks jumps up. If you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have, well, your professionalism, really starts to come out, and that's where I think, because honestly, that's the only subject I think, I don't have a jealous wife. If I drew you, it doesn't matter. Any woman I drew, they get treated the same way as anybody else. It's like, hey, we're out here, you're gonna, but I that's probably the biggest one that I think with everybody else that would come up. But I just look at most of these tournaments. If you're fishing, like you said, if you're fishing a club tournament, you probably aren't going to get the most professional human being out there all the time. If you're fishing some of the other lower events, you might not get that. But once you step up and you start fishing, I mean, you're not going to go fish the Bassmaster circuit and have unprofessionalism. Those guys are, a lot of them are married. A lot of them are not going to put all themselves on the line. There's cameras around, there's things like that, and that's the other thing that I really think that people could do is it's like, well, if you have that as an issue, put a camera in your boat. There's GoPros that are out there. You can run them all the time. And if something unprofessional like that steps up, record it, turn it in at the end of the day and say, look, man, this is what this dude was doing, and he can be disqualified and he can get thrown out. This is one of the other nice things about this sport is that we have no problem banning people for life.
Yes.
You use drugs in the football or baseball or whatever, or you do something, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they may fine you, but you're back out there playing because you're just valuable. Here in bass fishing, you mess up, you gone.
Yep, that is so very true. And like you said, if you have a camera with you, you shouldn't worry about it. You can turn that stuff in, or if you're like me and you just can be a loudmouth if you need to. Everybody around you is going to know what they are doing at that present point in time. Because I have no problem calling me out. I just speak up for yourself. I'm not going to let you be on my boat if you're going to do some stuff like that. But
it's just this subject is just, for me, it hits close, because I just think that I look at the world out there and I look at so many different things, and I see this, all the new, hey, transgenders want to compete with, the men want to compete with the women want to compete with the men, that sort of thing. And I look at that and I just go, it doesn't make sense to me. You're just pitting too much. But in our sport, it's like the perfect, if you want to be a professional, and I don't know that I want to call bass fishermen athletes necessarily, but they're, look, you can call them athletes if you want, but if you tell most of them they got to run a 100-yard dash, ain't going to happen. All right. It's,
I don't
there's a lot of them out there that ain't going to make 50 yards before they're asking for a bar. I'm going to need some food. So, but you can compete at this level. And it's just, for me, when I see it, I go, yes, this is where we're open. And I think, barring the few things that we've talked about, but I really think they can be so easily overcome, especially in this day and age.
Mental thing anyways.
Yeah, this is not the Mad Men era. I don't, nobody's out there calling you sweetheart and sugar buns and everything else.
It's usually some pawpaw that's been fishing this stuff forever, and he's pushing 80, and that's just what he calls every human. It's fine. Quit getting offended by everything. Don't be the typical outgoing little feminist. Just take it what it is. It's probably just being nice.
Right. It's that, and that's it. It's being professional. It's being courteous, and it's being out there in the water. I think as far as that, let's talk a little bit about some fishing now too. Because I would love to. You just got back from the Classic, so you're out there with Jamie Hartman, right? You're doing a bunch of work with him.
Yes.
Doing a lot of his media stuff. So, what did you come back from that? I mean, that's some, a lot of people get to do what you got to do, follow this guy around, do a bunch of, video work and camera work, and get to see how he fished. And, it's the Classic. It's, no matter what other tournaments are out there right now, the Classic by far is still the
deal. It will always be the tournament, and I was already excited about it. I mean, I've been to a Classic and I walked around the expo and whatnot, but I had never, like you said, I got to go practice with Jamie, and then when we got back, I got to go backstage in the tunnel and work with the guys back there, and just all this little stuff that you don't get to do usually. And I'm very grateful for that. But out of all that stuff, getting to go sit up in the media box thing, not media box, little corner area where you sit and take pictures while the guys come out on stage. The one place where I'm at, where everybody else is at too, just observing. Getting to watch that weigh in, oh my God, I was choking up. I was these guys worked their entire life to get to this one spot, in particular ones too, like Kyle Welcher, he's fairly new. He's only fished the Opens for one season, and he made it to the Elites, and then he fished the Elites one season, he made it to the Classic, and he's from Alabama, so it kind of hits home. He's right down the road, but I've watched him and his wife and kept up with them for a long time. To see him make it, and I did a little interview with him backstage, and he was day 2 of the Classic, it's a wrap. I'm very grateful I got to come here. But he didn't know he had made the cut to go to day 3. And then when he did, I was oh my God, that's so exciting. I was just oh, this is, why am I emotional at a fishing tournament? This is stupid. But I did, man. I stayed teary-eyed half the time. Interviewing, who was it? Interviewing Tommy Williams. He's one of the guys that made it there through the Opens. He said he had fished oh, what did he say? He said he had fished 9 opens, but 160 or more other tournaments in the past trying to get to that level. So he was like, I'm so excited that I even get to weigh a fish. I'm just happy to be up there. Like he was choking. He's like, man, I don't want to break down when I get up there just because I'm so excited. So I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this because I'm equally passionate and excited about it as these guys. I just like some skill. Like I said, I'm a noob, but I want to do that. And I don't care if it takes me like 50 years to get up on the stage and I have to have a cane and somebody has to help me. I don't care. Like that is what I want to do. I want to just do that. I don't have kids or anything, you know, like
right.
I dedicate my time to this and all my efforts to this. Like if I could fish full time and be a nurse part time, I would. I love being a nurse. Don't get me wrong. As far as a job goes, yes, I love my job, but I love fishing and I love the atmosphere. And most of these guys have been doing it since they were little kids. And I think all of us who are like, not all, but most of us who are really legitimately passionate about it, it goes back to when you were a kid. Like I can remember being like 5, 6 years old, and I was already like, that was my thing, you know. That's all I wanted to do, and just to go back to that, and then you feel that when you get up on the stage, you get around the stage, and you see these guys, you're like, this makes me feel like I'm a little kid, you know, and I want to keep that. So it's. I'll be back next year. Be like, Harmon, you need me as a media person again. Bring me with you. Like, I loved it. So I would.
You know, it puts it into perspective for me is you got to see, one of the things you got to see is you talk to these guys afterwards, you talk to and it is another sport too, that another part of this sport that I really enjoy is the fact that I've met tons of these guys, and it's like, you know, you're looking up to people, but at the same time, they're still at the same level, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like when you walk in and see, you know, a baseball player or football player, and you feel like, oh, well, you know, they're untouchable, untalkable, unreachable. You know, they're not associating with you, but these guys are absolutely 100% just human being, nice people.
Yeah.
But you also got to see how hard it is to be where they're at.
Yes.
I did an interview with James Watson a couple episodes back, and here's a guy who was very high up in the real estate world, you know, made a lot of money, had a lot of, you know, he was not hot, you know, wasn't shy about saying, yeah, I was making great money. And the only reason I'm fishing today is because of the money I made and the ability to go out there. And, you know, the question to come out of the back of that is, you know, this is a sport that we look at and we say, we want to say it's a professional sport. We want to say it's this sport. These guys have to go out and put their own money out all the time. It is a lot of money you got to put out. He was talking, you know, $70,000 to fish at the level he's fishing with just entry fees before he pays a single electric bill at home.
Yep.
When you see that, you know, what is that, you know, to be a professional sport, in my opinion, these guys shouldn't be paying anything. They should be being paid, because isn't that what professional is? You know, get paid to do something, not paying to do something.
I mean, I agree, but I disagree on, somewhat. So like, yes, I think that it is technically professional whenever it's all paid for and whatnot. Like Brian Thrift, that's why he was talking about MLF. You know, he was like, I finally get to fish and it doesn't cost me anything. Not now, because they changed it, whatever. But like bass, you know, I mean, if you took away the fact that they're going to win that money, how would that affect their motivation? Like if you told me that I was gonna win 10 grand, or if I was just gonna get paid 10 grand regardless for every tournament, or, you know, it doesn't matter how I do, I might be a little, I don't know, I'd still be fired up. They might be like, meh, if I don't do okay, it's still fine, you know, my electric bill is paid at the end of the day. Well, but I think a lot of the thing is like the whole sponsorship thing comes into play. Like if you want me to go pay entry fees for the opens, and that's the open, that's not the Elite Series.
Right.
The opens is expensive. Like if you add up your travel and your food and your housing and all this stuff and your fuel, like little things, and then you're still gonna pay my house payment back home. Yeah, it's up there quick. So it motivates you start getting on with sponsorships and be like, look, you want me to product or do stuff for your product? Like, I gotta eat. So you get really, really good at getting sponsorships based around the fact that like you need them, not just want them. Like you need, when these guys get up on stage at the classic and they're like, hey, I just want to thank my sponsors because I cannot do this without you. They mean that. Like,
yeah, there's no there's no slight lie in that at all.
No, not at all. Like they don't mean that like I would like to thank my grandma about. No, they thank you for putting me in this seat. Like,
right.
So
yeah, the opportunities come with, so you can talk to and tell that to other people coming up in this sport is, hey, if you're in college right now and you want to be a professional bass angler, take some marketing classes, take some public speaking, take some, be real about what you actually take.
Yes, and work on getting scholarships through bass fishing. Like if you have a team you can get on in high school,
yeah.
but you have the game. Like how bad I wish they had that when I was growing up. I would have loved that. But
I say that all the time.
For one, I was homeschooled, so like I did fish. I got to fish, but it like wasn't on the team, And then I got to college, that wasn't happening. We didn't have that at my little community college I went to at first. So I would, all these kids who were like 14 years old getting to go compete in the Bass Nation or the juniors. Oh, what is this? No, I just wanted this when I was a kid, but I'm happy for them though. I think it's great that they have that. And if you look at the male to female ratio on these kids versus 10 years ago, there's a lot of girls fishing with juniors. So I think if you give it about 5-10 years, it's going to even out a lot more than it has been.
Well, and I think that really will take, I think the way they're coming out now and the way it's coming up with them being in the college and being, teams, and it's going to eliminate a lot of the problems that we had talked about, because it's just going to be a normal thing. You just go out there and, businesses and the workplace and everything else, sexual harassment has been, I'm not going to say it's been eliminated, but it has been diffused so much. I mean, it's such a priority now. It's such a, it's such a thing that doesn't try to happen. That when you start that way, coming out of high school, coming out of college, going into the professionals, when you start that way, it's not going to be a thing. It's not going to be, I mean, it still will always be there, but it's not going to be a mainstream deal like it was before. So I think that's a great part of that. The other part is they're getting an education and doing something they love. The opportunity to become a professional bass fisherman is super high. I mean, you can, as long as you can get the money, you can get into the tournaments, right? I mean, until you get to this, until you get to the Bass Masters and you get to the MLFs, you got to qualify, of course. But yeah, I mean, but you can fish the Toyota Series and you can fish those, these qualifying events. You can fish those no matter where you are in life. You can fish those. And that is the one nice thing about kind of being, coming up. I know when Ray Scott started this, he tried to model it, after professional golf. And that's kind of where I can't, you led to something saying, hey, if I'm going to get a check just for showing up, am I motivated to win? Well, I look at that and say, if last place gets $10,000, but first place gets $1 million, yeah, I'm motivated.
Yeah. And that's like Hartman, Hartman to see a guy on that level of things, fishing the classic, and, they get 10 grand for breathing for the classic. That does not change a thing for them, because the difference between first and 10th is a big one, big one. So he was like, it's like, I want to make third day, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying it was all money related. He was like, I would love to win a classic, but I mean, you've seen the price difference between the two. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's a big difference. So,
right.
Yes.
Well, what's your perspective on the two? I mean, there's the classic is, the Bassmasters there, but now there's this, now there's MLF, and MLF is offering some things that, seem a little more, I guess, leaning towards the professionalism. It's guided and led by anglers who have been in this sport for a long time. What's your take on someone coming up that wants to do that? Which, if you had the opportunity, which one are you going to pick? And maybe a little bit of why.
In my opinion, and that's just my opinion, doesn't mean it's right or wrong, because I feel like I have to say that 20 times. I don't know if you ever watch my videos. There's always that's not right. So let me just say that there's no right or wrong on that. But to go out and catch 15, 22 pounders, or to go out and find 5 that are 5+, 6+ pounds, to me, that takes more talent. Like, and the MLF guys right now, I'm like, that is the best of the best guys. Like, because you've got KDV, you've got Jacob Wheeler, you got all these guys out there, but they have the skills to go out and find 6-pounders. You know what I mean? So
Right.
if I personally was coming in and I was like, okay, I'm going to get professional, I'm going to do the best I can, I'm going to show my skills. If I get on a school of 2-pounders versus, somebody that went out and caught 3 or 4 6-pounders, like what technically took more skill? I feel like it will never replace Master, because that is true 100% what this sport is based around, finding size, which is what it is, finding size and finding bites, because your goal isn't to catch dinks all day. Your goal is to hammer them and catch 5 bigs. Like, that is why we're out here, So, like, if you ask, and I know it's not just me, it's probably several other people too. If I asked you where MLF is fishing next week versus, hey, where are the elites fishing next week, you're probably going to know where the elites are fishing next week. Just because, I don't know, to me, it's just, I grew up watching Bassmaster. I'm obsessed with that. Like, and I fish MLF. Don't get me wrong, I fish MLF, but I fish on a lower scale of things where it's still the 5,
Right.
I'm fishing MLF. So my goal is to swap over and fish a tournament more based around, the higher up. Like, I like to fish the opens, but I just like if you look at these guys and their statistics with MLF, and if you didn't know them and you didn't know anything about bass fishing, you might look at one of their statistics and be like, man, they're just not even doing that great. But like, some of these guys, like Brian Thrift and Jordan Lee, like those guys are ridiculous. And then you see their statistics sometimes on there and you're like, oh, not even that good. Yes, they are. They're great. If you look at the fish they did catch, they're tanks. They might not have caught 20 of them, but they catch tanks. And Jacob Willard and all them equally. I mean, like I said, you can put them on a field where you catch 5 and they still hammer everything. But I don't know. I feel like that's where your skill comes into play, is not so much quantity, but your quality, and how to pinpoint that instead of just finding fish,
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand that perspective. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's why it's an opinion. Yours is yours, mine's mine. I think it's funny you talk about that, because about the whole, you follow the elites, you follow this. I'm at a major disadvantage. I live in the West Coast.
Exactly.
When I go, it's crazy to me. When I go back east, I've been in Georgia a bunch. I've been in back in Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. I've been back there. And when I go back there, there's a bass boat in every driveway. There's a, two cars, one's a truck, one's hooked up to the boat all the time, and they're going, and you turn on the local channels and they'll have the crappie tournaments on. They've got bass tournaments on. They've got, catfish derbies on. I've seen on the TV programs back, in the East, back and down in the South. And it's like, man, it is so much. You come out here, we are lucky. When the Bassmasters event came out here and they fished the Delta and they fished Clear Lake, they filmed the Delta. It was on one of our local program. It was on one of our local TV programs, came out, and they did like look what's going on out here. Look, oh man, they seem to really light their boats to be lit up. Oh look, and they're I think they're fishing somewhere, and you're, and I go back there and it's like, oh no, they know the names, they know the people, it's like, you may as well, you come out here and they know who the Sacramento Kings are, and every sports channel, every channel knows who these people are. We go out there, they couldn't name one person on the water. It's such a different world that you live in. Because you asked me, would I know where the elites are at? Would I know where the next MLF is? No, I'd have to Google it, search it, because I would never know. I have to look it up to find it. I have to, if I want to watch anything, I have to watch it on the computer because it will not be on my local broadcasts anywhere. You'll never even know it.
That is crazy. Like here, you know, and I live in an area where it's saturated with bass anglers. Like that's why the whole reason I moved here is for that reason. Like everybody knows every statistic and what they're doing now, what league they went to. Like, oh, I grew up with him. Like that's a common thing here. People get into it. I think it's because it hits home so much though. Like a lot of these guys are from within a 2-hour radius of me. So people like they just follow throughout their career, and you don't have that out there. I guess there's a couple, but
yeah. Oh no, a lot of the West Coast guys move there. You know, I mean, we've got holdouts. We've got, you know, Skeet Reese still lives here in Auburn. He lives just down the street from me. You know, Ish Monroe, who lives, you know, an hour or so from me. We've got some of the bigger name, you know, but guys like Aaron Martins, I mean, he lives in Alabama now. You know, Luke Clausen, I think he moved that way. You know, there's so many guys that are moving that way because of what you guys are offering down there. But yeah, so it's really let's talk a little bit about this is we just left spring, we're coming into summer. I know you guys are a little different than we are down there, but what's you fishing right now? What's going on as far as what's your favorite fishing right now, and what are you doing?
well, considering I live on Coosa, you know, everything here is based around current, and current is like, if you don't have current, you're not catching fish usually. I mean, you can, but your goal is to find moving water, because we have big spots here. You know, those spots, they're in current. It's like 1,000 degrees outside. They're there because they want food. Like, they're just aggressive. When it also here it's hot as crap. It went from like 60 degrees to now it's like 100 degrees in like a 2-week period. It's just blazing. So punching is a big factor around here, and like everywhere else in the South, you're going to be flipping and finding thick cover. Frog fishing's turning on in the morning. Like, in the same, almost like Florida based around thing, but you have to add in that current factor. And that also goes back to if you want to catch spots or if you want to catch bass, most of the wins around here is a mixed bag, because you probably find 5 spots rather quick, and then you move over and go after largemouth the whole rest of the day. Like I've got a tournament coming up this weekend, Saturday on Neely Henry. It's going to be hot, and last year it was stagnant, just hot, miserable, no wind, no current. It sucked. It was miserable, but there's going to be that guy that weighs 18, 19 pounds, you know, because the most of the time you catch your weight after they turn current on, you know, like, and I don't know what that's going to be going on this weekend because it's flooding. So it's going to be just like the elites fished it. It's going to be moving. That's a good thing though.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of your videos, if you're not following, you know, if you want to follow Nikki, she's on a bunch of different social media stuff too. So if you want to follow her, you can find her out there, and it's not hard. And faster in progress. you can see her. She's fishes some of the, I mean, we have current here. Don't get me wrong. We have the Delta, but we don't have current like with those lakes. When you're on, or I mean, the Coosa River, all that stuff, that one that you did with all that dam that starts, they turn that thing on, and it's like, holy moly. I do not know how you get up there, sit in that. And I mean, I'm guessing you have spot lock, because that's the only way. No spot locking. You're fishing current. I mean, that thing was moving. That's ripping. I mean, that's not even like a little bit of water. That is a lot of water right there.
I have a 4-tracks, and it is not even recessed. Like, my back hates me by the end of the day. So that's why I love my boat. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of things I'm ready to upgrade, that being one of them. Because every time I go fishing with Clayton or any of our friends, and most of them have spot lock, I get all there and I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm just spending too much money. Forget it. But it is what it is. I'm just used to it. I'm used to cranking it up to like pretty much 100%, and just dealing with it. The only thing that's bad about that is if you're fishing current, you know as well as I do, if you have it cranked up on your trolling motor and you're good, you're set, but then you catch a fish and you're dealing with that. And then if you go to get back on your trolling motor and it's at least a little turned and you're not paying attention, just boop, off the side, here you go. So you have to really be careful with that in that current.
Well, I can see the back of your boat there, so I know that there are no power poles there. So yeah, and once you let go of that button, you gone.
Yeah. It's funny, like I'll catch a fish up there at the dam if they've got 2 or more turbines running. If you hop off the trolling motor, you're working on your fish, you get it in, you're taking off the hook and everything. By the time you get back up there and you look around, you've gone like a mile. Like, oh, dam's way up there. So it's a common thing to watch these local guys, and myself included, get to crank up, pull your trolling motor up, idle back up to where you were. Like, if I try to get there with my trolling motor, I'm just gonna just barely creep all the way.
How many times you turn around and someone just watched you catch a fish? Do they cut you off, get back up in there, and they're fishing your water now?
Sometimes it does. It's so the dam has different rules than regular, out in open water. If I'm flipping and you come up, if I'm flipping out on a wall and you come up and you cut in front of me and you start flipping what I was about to flip, I'm going to lose my mind. If I can, if you're within reason, if you're too close, I'm going to go off on you. Just because it's rude. You don't do that at the dam. The dam area here on Lake Mitchell is not that big. So your goal is to not bump into anybody and to not fish literally right up under them, because if you try to keep the whole giant distance factor going on, you can't between them, especially when it gets hot outside, because everybody's going to run up there. You're talking like 50+ boats sometimes sitting around the same little area trying to fish. So you're trying not to get where people are casting, and you're trying not to bump into them. Other than that, it's kind of free game. I mean, you've got boulders and stuff in particular that you want to hit while you're out there. But as far as fishing the actual current goes, it's almost like watching a little cycle. Like people go up here and fish. As soon as they sit their trolling motor down, they're going to at least get pulled a little bit. So it's just like people move and just have a steady people idling back up and fishing this, idling up and fishing that. And everybody's used to it. It's not terrible.
So what's a good size spot down there? Because I know you were talking about 18, 19 pounds, but I'm guessing that's probably a mixed bag between spots and larges.
Not always, because we got spots on Coosa that are 4, 5, 6 pounds. So it's possible, very possible to have just a all spots bag and it still be hefty. So we don't have to look for spots. Like when I went out to Lake Fork this year, we were filming for Blackfish. Out there, they were like, yeah, you got spots back in Alabama. We hear they're big. Here they're only like 12 inches and everybody just kind of eats them. I was like, 12 inches? Like, that's it? That's all they get? They're like, yeah, they just don't get big out here. I was like, no, at home, they're like big gangster spots. Like they just got out of prison. They've been like working on getting pumped up in current for a year, and they're just angry and they hate everything. Like they're just giant. So it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, we have that here in California. We have spots.
You guys have big spots too.
We have some real full grown spots. So we have the world record. It actually came from about 30 minutes north of me at one of my lakes. So I mean, 11 pounders. I catch 6, 7, 8. I'm personal best 9.5. It's Jesus. Yeah, there's a lot of lakes right here that have, 5, 6, 7 pounders, and we got big. I mean, and like I said, half hour from here, I've got 2 lakes that have probably world records still swimming around in them. So it's pretty good. It's fun I love spot fishing. We've got a lot of lakes up here. I honestly, other than like Clear Lake, the Delta, and some other, smaller lakes, our fisheries around here were saved by spotted bass. We have lakes like Oroville. So y'all have, your water fluctuates a foot, maybe 2 feet, and ours fluctuates 100, 150. Like we're in one of the worst droughts ever right now. We're probably 200, 220 feet down on our lakes, but you still have water of 200 feet deep to fish. And if we didn't have spots, we'd have no fish to fish for.
Crazy. Like I don't know what to do with my life over there. Like in Texas at Ray Roberts, it was up 4.5, 5 feet. I think it was like 4.5 feet. That was enough for me. It's good.
Oh no, you can come out to like Lake Oroville or Lake Shasta here. And right now I think Oroville's down almost 200 feet.
I think the
and if
only
we
time
did,
I was in Virginia. It was crazy.
yeah, our lake that's closest to you is Clear Lake. I mean, as far as what the conditions you deal with is Clear Lake out here in California. That's one right now. It's like 7 feet down, and it's hard to fish it. You have to struggle. I mean, there's still 20 something feet of water to fish it, but the deepest part of that lake's only 40 feet. So right now it's like 33 feet. So it's a pretty shallow body of water. But so a little bit about, you've got some stuff going on now. Blackfish, you got a sponsor there, it's Blackfish. Tell us a little about what it is.
I love
while we're out here.
they are a handy dandy little company, because like I don't know if you out there, if your weather is really unpredictable, like here in Alabama, like right now as I'm talking to you, it rained and now it's back to being 100 degrees and it's not raining and it goes back and forth all the time. And as a girl, finding decent rain gear that's made for girls, it's like a pain. It's such a pain. So before then, I had just like some Bass Pro stuff, but I had to take it and get it altered and worked on to make it fit right, because I have like 3-inch legs and it just doesn't work. But Blackfish has like a women's line of rain gear, and they have what's called soft shells. And soft shells is like they're made for cold weather, but they're not bulky. They're like neoprene feeling with soft insides.
Okay.
So you can still move around, and they're stretchy, and you don't have to look like that kid from the Christmas Story while you're trying to fish in 30-degree weather. Like what I look like. But also they make like UPF stuff and the basics. But I love them. They've taken really good care of me, and they've probably been one of the sponsors I've stepped up the most as far as like seeing where I'm going and putting time and effort into me. And we just actually filmed for them out in Texas. Hasn't aired yet, but it's gonna be really cool when it does, which is how Hartman and I got together as far as filming goes.
Okay.
So they are a great company. They're actually owned by an ice fishing company called Clam. So they have really good experience on the whole cold weather aspect, as far as being able to move around, and you don't want to feel bulky, and you can hear, you know what I mean when I say the story kid, you're so bulky. It's around, you can't see anything. Like they illuminate all of that, so it is so nice whenever you can put your cold weather gear on and still move. It's so nice, and it's not suffocating you. Like if you feel like you can still breathe, the material is so nice. So, but yeah, they're based out of Minnesota, and last year they took me up there for one of their tournaments, and we did a filming day where we just like rode around, caught fish, and we went to Minnetonka. It is so cool to go somewhere like that far away from your homeland and fish, because up there, like Minnetonka, you can catch a 2-pounder every cast if you want to. It's easy to catch fish. I was like, man, this is awesome. But they had a speed limit on the lake. It's kind of weird. Never seen that before. But yeah, Blackfish, they're good people too. Like there's not a single person that company that I've met that it's just like, what is this? Like they're all really, really good people. So they've been with me I've been with them for over a year now. I got with them at the last class actually. So
well, I'll definitely look into it, because my wife needs some rain gear.
For real,
as much as it doesn't rain here in California that much, but when we do go, when it finally does, it usually rains really well. So.
And it's like good stuff too. Like it's high quality. Some rain gear you put on, and
I do.
It's not wet for a while, and then give it like 2 hours of getting rained on, you're starting to get a little moist. Yeah, that's.
I will not name the company that I had last year, but
same.
They. It wasn't long that I was standing there going, is everybody else wet, or is it just me?
Yeah. Which was nice, because like between getting it altered, then it also did that. I was like freezing to death, and no, theirs is very high quality. It's a little expensive. There's a reason for that. It is very good quality. I mean, I say it's a little expensive. It's no more expensive than the other main brands, but it is very high quality. So I love it. And even if I'm not fishing, like I just like to wear their stuff. I catch myself wearing their little long sleeve UPF shirts. Like this is made out of the same material, the water wicking stuff. For one, I sweat constantly right now because it's 1,000 degrees outside, and it doesn't leave a nice little line across your busted can when I sit down. Secondly, like it doesn't feel scratchy, it dries out fast, it breathes. Like I can wear their long sleeve and be comfortable. Like I went to practice with Hartman at the Classic and wore one of their long sleeves the entire time. It was fine. It wasn't suffocating, I love their stuff.
Now, you have anybody else that's working with you, or?
Yes. One of the first companies that I got with, it's actually Crusher Lures. That's a local company here in Clanton, which is fantastic. I don't know if you follow my page or not, but I go by there all the time and give them crap basically. But they've taken really good care of me as well. They make jigs, spinner baits, buzz baits, just all kind of little stuff like that.
Right.
But even if you were to take away the sponsorship aspect on them, they're jigs, and I am a jig person. I love to throw jigs, and theirs in particular, just I can tell the difference if I'm using theirs versus somebody else kind of thing. And I've gotten to the point where I'm so picky, I'm just really want to use theirs. But they take great care of me as well. They are looking forward to seeing where I'm going with this stuff. I've been with All In Tackle for a couple of years now. I am a scent user, and I know everybody doesn't agree with that. They're like, "Oh, it doesn't do anything." That's fine. If you feel like that, that's fine. I don't feel like that. I feel like I have to do all the efforts. So, Randy and Patty own that All In Tackle company, and they have sent me enough stuff to last me a long time as far as getting taken care of for tournaments. And actually, it's funny that you asked that. I haven't said this yet, but ICAST Cup is coming up down in South Florida, and All In Tackle has gotten up with me, and Randy and Patty were like, "Look, we really think you would do well down there. They're having a women's division this time to fish along. Like, it's not a division. They need teams of women to fish it. And given you're going to be fishing against pros,
yep,
hard. But anyways, the highest finishing women's team goes on to fish on the U.S. Bass team and compete like at the World Championship kind of level. So they were like,
I did not know that.
Yeah, like I didn't know that until like 2 days ago. So
nice.
But Randy called me and he was like, "Man, I feel like you would do really well, you know. So do you have anybody in particular for like a teammate you can think of?" And I was like, "Yes, I have Sherry. She lives here in town. She competes all the time. We fish the same stuff." So yeah, we signed up actually today, and we'll be down there for the ICAST Cup competing as a women's team against all these dudes. So just stuff like that, man. Nobody knows this is going on, but All In Tackle, like I said, Randy and Patty, they're the ones that are like, "Look, we feel like you do really well. Just get down there and we'll take care of it." So I was like, "Okay, I'll go." So they're really good people, and their product is great. Their jar juice stuff they make, my whole boat smells like garlic bread all the time. I love that stuff.
Well, I'm with you on that. I'm a big scent guy. I love throwing all the different scents. So, and I fully believe it works.
Yeah, I do too. Like, honestly,
even if it gives me 1 second longer that fish holds, or it comes in,
right there,
that 1 second right there can be all the difference in the world.
Yes. I mean, when you're thinking about your bass just, and then like exhale that bait, it's so fast that he literally hangs on to it for like 2 milliseconds longer, just like, "What's this?" And then spits it out. That's fine. I'll take that. "What's this?" And he did that, cuts me a check or whatever. So I have used their product. Like, I kid you not when I say anytime I buy plastics of certain types, like I immediately sit down in my boat, crack them all open, and just like a little assembly line go down. I'm marinating stuff for months if I need to. I love their stuff. And they also make I had not seen this before in any other product, but they might have another one. I don't know. They make what's called jar jelly, and it's like thick, almost like a paste form of scent. And I have never seen that, but I use that on particular things as well, just because it's like more adherent. And
we have one. I don't know if it's down there, and I'm sure it is. Just the smelly jelly, and that's the same kind of concept. It's like a pasty. The only thing is that if you leave it out, on the front of your boat, it becomes a liquid very soon.
But then you can just use it. You can put it in your plastic
bag.
That's a good way.
But you will definitely come home smelling like whatever you put on. So.
Oh man, yes, my dog. I'll come home from fishing, and I have washed my hands like 5 times at a restaurant on the way home. Like, we'll stop to eat, and I'm like scrubbing, go to surgery in the bathroom.
It doesn't come off.
Immediately.
The cheeseburger you stop to get it home will taste like that. So.
Yep. So I'm a big fan of garlic. Like,
garlic, absolutely. Yep. No, absolutely. I'm a big fan. I not to step on them, but that Strike King coffee scent is just like ridiculously good. So I can't.
Everybody's favorite thing though. Like,
I will literally just open that bag, smell it for a minute. It's like, I don't know how you could not eat this.
Exactly. Like, I don't know why fish like garlic, or if they like Italian food, or what the deal is, or who discovered this, but I'm glad you did, because I feel like that does things, and I love it as well. So
yeah. Okay. Well, we've got a lot of stuff going on out there. Nikki, I want to really thank you for coming on today. Give me one message you would for any of those ladies out there that want to get into this sport and want to do this and maybe are a little apprehensive. Or I've seen some of your TikTok stuff. I've seen a lot of your TikTok stuff. I've seen a lot of your different.
That's a good
and
thing.
You always usually have a very good message of, to other people. And I really liked that that's one of the reasons why I chose to do this interview with you is I really like that you have a very outgoing opinion and give me that message to those other ladies that says, hey, get out here. If you really want to do it, go out and do it,
Yeah. My advice to them would be don't defeat yourself before you get started. Nope. And if you want to get a boost of confidence, I tell everybody I see to this, go to your local boat ramp in the middle of summertime, take a lawn chair, sit down and realize that they are no better than you are. About 90% of them, you can do that. You're smart. You learned how to drive. You got your driver's license. It is no different. It just takes some time and effort, a little bit of research, a lot of practice. Like you can do that. There is no reason you can't. I'm not saying that women are all more patient than dudes, but as well as I do, we got a little bit extra thrown in there in our genetics. It takes a lot of that. Like you can do that. You can do that just fine. And I also tell them if anybody has like questions or they need help with anything or whatever, I know I've got a lot of things going on and whatnot, but hit me up, like shoot me a message. I might take like a while to get back to you, but I will help you the best I can. And little things like I made a video on very basics on how to back up your trailer. Like a lot of people, and it's not so much that they're a woman, a lot of guys, even if you're from a big city, you don't get taught this stuff. You don't have a chance to deal with the equipment. If you've never had a chance to back up a trailer because you don't even know anybody that owns a truck to have a trailer to use, like you won't have a chance to learn. So yeah, don't defeat yourself before you get started, and don't beat yourself up if you suck the first month or so. It's fine. It is fine. Get out there and practice. You'll do fine.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I will say this. The first thing I learned about bass fishing when I started tournament fishing, I am not a humble human being all the time. And I have a lot of confidence in my abilities, but I learned really quick. The best thing you can do in this sport is learn to lose, because you're going to lose 99% of the time. You are not going to be first. You are going to be somewhere after that. Yeah. And this is a sport that if you can't handle losing, don't get into it. Yes. Take up tiddlywinks or something else that you can be really good at, because this ain't it. You're gonna get your teeth kicked in. You're gonna lose to people that you look at and go, how did I lose to that person? It's there. But and I give that to everybody. I am a big proponent of, I truly enjoy seeing the women go out there compete. I've had friends bring their wives out there. My wife loves to compete. I think it's a sport that really should grow that way, because I just think it should. I guess I don't know. Maybe because I have nothing but sisters. I don't know. And one brother that's kind of a girl. So Casey's watching. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's just, I think this is thing. I really appreciate you coming on here. I think that you're a positive in this sport. I think that you're going to go a long ways. I hope to see you out there going a long ways. I will be following your career. So, it's a good deal. If you ever get in California, please feel free to give me a call. I will get you on some of the best waters we got.
All right, I will hit up and be like, remember where you said those 8
That's never a problem. That's never a problem. Anybody knows how to get a hold of me, that's for sure. But Nikki, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll wrap her up right here. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. The one thing I will ask them is, how do people get a hold of you as far as your social media? What is your social media stuff that you have? So you have everything that I know of, but
yeah, I mean, I've got Instagram you can hit me up on. I still have a Facebook, even though Facebook's kind of fallen off the planet. I've still got one of those. I think it's like Nikki Jo Fishing. TikTok seems to be taking off pretty well. So I tell them, if you tag me in something, it pops up a little easier for me to see than like a comment, basically. So tag me in things if you want to talk to me, because it won't let me message people unless you're like friends with me or something like that. And there's too many to keep up with. So tag me in things. Comment on my stuff if you need to ask a question, but hit me up if you message me on Instagram. It's probably the easiest because I use that the least. So it's like the least flooded with things. So,
that's how I got a hold of her, by the way, just so you know.
Yes, just throwing that out there because I'll actually see. It might take me a little bit to see it, but I'll see it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight. This is Wired for Bass. We really appreciate you. This will, everybody for tuning into Bass Angler Magazine. If you haven't got your subscription yet, go out and get a subscription to Bass Angler Magazine. We do the best job we can, and we're the best. It's just flat out. Bass Angler Magazine is the best magazine going right now for anybody out there tournament angling and any angler that wants to be on the water. So coming out, Nikki, thanks again, and we will see you guys on the next one.
See you later, guys.